Hey everyone, Pastor Nathan here. We're continuing to look through the book of Psalms together. As I mentioned last time, the praying through the Psalms has really become a study on the book of Psalms with a focus on how this would help our prayer life. And so we're continuing that today in Psalm 143. This is a bit longer, not terribly long, 12 verses. We're just going to tackle that together today. And we'll just do it a couple verses at a time as we walk through this. So this is a Psalm of David. This also is the last of what are called the penitential Psalms. There are several in the Psalms that tend to deal with sin as a whole, with sin and forgiveness and coming to our God in repentance. Probably because of verse 2, which we'll get to here in a minute. But the whole of the Psalms, or this particular Psalm, I should say, definitely has a feel of, I need forgiveness, I'm repenting, and then the back half of the Psalm is, forgive me and restore me and deliver me. So let's just start. Verses 1 and 2. Hear my prayer, O Lord, give ear to my pleas for mercy. In your faithfulness answer me, in your righteousness. Enter not into divine judgment or into judgment with your servant, for no one living is righteous before you. If you were to look at this psalm, one of the things that this opening is, this is very typically penitential. Don't enter into judgment with your servant, for no one living is righteous before you. And and this is incredibly important for us to see here, is that David is saying that there's none righteous. This is a declaration of the universality of sin. And so when we enter into a conversation with our God, there's no way we're coming as if we deserve to be in his presence or have earned a way into his presence. When we come before him, it is all based on, as David says, his faithfulness and his mercy that allows us to come into his presence. Okay, verse 3 and 4. For the enemy has pursued my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me sit in darkness like those long dead. Therefore my spirit faints within me. My heart within me is appalled. Verse 3 and 4, you kind of the depth of the challenge that David has. That his enemy has pursued him, has crushed him into the ground, has made him sit in the darkness like those long dead. That to the point where his spirit is fainting and his heart is just appalled at what has happened, what has transpired for David. I mean, this is the place where he's like, either what his enemy, that is, his sin, or a real kind of physical enemy, spiritual enemy, mental enemy has brought him to this location. And then verse 5 and 6. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all that you have done. I ponder the works of your hands. I stretch out my hands to you. My soul thirsts for you like a parched land. David has this incredible ability to use imagery. The Spirit's guiding him in this, but David's ability with imagery is incredible. This idea of the soul thirsting like a parched land is incredible. But I don't want to skip verse 5, because verse 5, he says, I remember the days of old. We might think that he's about ready to go into some sort of nostalgic remembrance of, oh man, if we could just get back to the good old days. But that's not David's point here. David says, I meditate on all that you have done. I ponder the works of your hands, and then I stretch out my hands to you. See, this is not a look back saying, man, I just wish I could get back to the way things were. This is a, Lord, you're the only one who can save me. And I'm looking back at all the different times that you have taken care of me. All the different times where you have again and again provided for your servant. And now I stretch out my hands to you, and I really need what you have, because I am a parched land and only you can quench that thirst. Verse 7, answer me quickly, O Lord, my spirit fails. Hide not your face from me, lest I be like those who go down to the pit. Verse 8, let me hear in the morning of your steadfast love, for in you I trust. Make me know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. What an incredible prayer. He's lifting up his hands to God. He's saying, Lord, answer me quickly. I'm in the middle of the night, and everything looks bleak, looks lost. When the morning comes, let me hear good news. And the good news is God's chesed, God's steadfast love, his faithfulness towards his servant. Make me to know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. I mean, in the dark of night, it's tough to know where you should go, and whether that's like a physical night or mental or spiritual night. David's praying, Lord, let me know where you want me to go. What a prayer to pray in the midst of challenging circumstances, and maybe you don't know where to go. What a prayer to pray. Lord, make me to know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. 9 and 10. Deliver me from my enemies, O Lord. I have fled to you for refuge. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. When we're talking about this as a penitential psalm here, if the opening 5 or 6 verses are about forgiveness and being restored, verse 9 and 10, really the 7 and following, but 9 and 10 is kind of like the flip side of that. Lord, deliver me from my enemies. I have fled to you for refuge. And then when he has been delivered from his enemies, teach me to do your will. Verse 10, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. That's the life after that restoration. Verse 11 and 12, for your name's sake, O Lord, preserve my life. In your righteousness, bring my soul out of trouble. Verse 12, and in your steadfast love, you will cut off my enemies, and you will destroy all the adversaries of my soul, for I am your servant. In one sense, we're looking at this going, he's just saying, Lord, destroy all my enemies. When you get to verse 12, it's very much but this is internal as much as it is external. We want our God to deliver us from evil, to deliver us from our adversaries of soul, to deliver us from sin and the power of the devil, but also to deliver us from external enemies as well. And that we can't do this, as David comes about again and again in here, we can't do this unless our God acts according to his faithfulness and righteousness, not our faithlessness and fault. But thankfully, our God does act towards us out of his righteousness. And that's why David can continually go back again and again. He goes back to God's name, God's faithfulness, and God's steadfast love, and says, this is why I believe you will help me. It's not because of me, it's because of you. Anyhow, hope that's helpful for you. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.